Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast Live. Today, it's Friday, February the 9th. And as always, for my live show, I am joined by two of the best handicappers in the world today, Mr. Jesse Schule and Mr. Sean Higgs. And myself, I'm Ross Benjamin. All three of us of our sponsor site, gamblersworld.net. Folks, before we get to the material we're going to cover today and all your questions and comments, just a friendly reminder, if you go to gamblersworld.net right now, everybody likes Super Bowl squares, right? Everybody likes cheap Super Bowl squares that can make you a lot of money. Well, $10 will get you a Super Bowl square over at gamblersworld.net, and we're guaranteeing to pay out the halftime score for $500 and the final score for $500. So you can't beat that. Go to gamblersworld.net. You'll see a big banner right on the homepage. Just click on that and follow the instructions, simple instructions to follow, and get yourself going for a measly $10. Okay, you could make yourself $500 on the final, $500 on halftime, and if you hit both, $1,000. Not bad. Jesse, how are you, my man?
I'm doing pretty well, Ross. It's been a pretty good run and feeling good about the Super Bowl coming up.
All right. And Mr. Higgs, it's always a pleasure to see and talk to you, as well as Jesse, by the way. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm trying to get a Super Bowl square right now. Are we allowed to be in the contest?
Yeah, you're allowed. We only get one. Every participant is only allowed just one square. Okay.
Yes,
so you're limited to one square. So somebody doesn't get in there and try to dominate the whole board. So one square per participant. So yes, we're all eligible. It's not like it's skill. You just hope to catch a lucky number. You know, Jesse, these Super Bowl squares, you know, in the old days, if you got a 2, a 3, a 5, or a 9, you were out of it. You know what I mean? It's like you just mailed in your money. But now with these teams going for 2-point conversions and the 35-yard, 33-yard extra points, no longer, a 98% tile conversion rate. It's anything goes on these Super Bowl squares.
Yeah, I'm not a big Super Bowl squares guy myself. I like the prop market. I like the more traditional betting. The lottery stuff. I'm a guy that I've never bought a lottery ticket in my life, Ross. Never bought a lottery ticket in my life. And when I go to Vegas, I have never played a table game, never played blackjack or video poker or anything like that. It's just
hold on a second here. It's saying that a user with that email already exists. What's happening here? Why can't I what's happening here?
Can we address this after we get off air, Sean? So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I ran into the same thing myself, and I'll get into it with you at that time. But nothing's easy, Sean. That's all I can tell you, man. Yeah, Super Bowl squares. Look, it's all potluck, right, Jesse and Sean? And I'm totally against potluck stuff, but you know, as opposed to doing a prop where you bet on heads or tails, and you're getting virtually even money, or you're paying a little juice on it. At least with a Super Bowl square, you like, for example, in this one, you're paying $10 and you have an opportunity to win $500 or $1,000. The payoff's big, you know. So if you're going to have a little fun with something, I always like to have a little fun with Super Bowl squares, as opposed to betting on ridiculous props that are mindless in terms of strategy. So that's what I would say. In any event, we got some Super Bowl props for you and plenty of them. So let's get to them, and then we'll get to all your questions and comments, and as many as we can, time permitting. So anything that comes up, folks, just reach out. Let's talk about it, and we'll go from there. But let's start with Sean. Super Bowl props, buddy. Tell us what you like.
Yeah. I'm going to start with the successful 2-point conversion. There's no rhyme. It's 3-1. Someone's taking a shot here. It's just that simple. Team's going to be down. They'll look to chase points, or maybe catch somebody sleeping, whatever the case may be. They're going for it like, wow, this is a risky decision. I don't know. We've seen this before in these kind of games. I'm going to go a 2-point conversion there, which kind of leads me to my second prop here, which is a 4th down conversions by both teams. So Kansas City was minus 110, San Fran's minus 102. Together, they were tied in at a plus 310 over at FanDuel. Yeah, they're going for 4th down conversion. Somebody's going to be down at the end of the game. Someone's going to be 4th and 1 from like the 39 and go for it. You talk about like potluck and lottery tickets. I hate saying things like free money, stuff like that, but somebody's going to be down in the 4th quarter and is going to go for it on 4th down. So right off the bat, at worst case, I'm going to lose $8 if it's one, or win $2 or be down $2. So that's a spot where I think it's like an auto kind of play. Receiving yards, I think I gave out the Justin Watson. He's like 16.5, 17 yards. Maybe, if you think Kansas City's going to win, right, you're going to jump all over. It's like Kelsey, right? You're going to just ladder up all the Kelsey props and receiving yards and catches and all that. But even if he catches 12 passes, there's still got to be at least another 8 to somebody else, right? So who else is catching a ball there? So, Watson's a guy, you get him at plus 450 for an anytime touchdown. I'll take a shot on him. I know Scantling's another one. I could easily said his receiving yards is, I think, 17 or 20 yards for him. You want to jump on that? He catches like a 27-yard pass just randomly in the game. So that's about it. There can be so many, Ross, right? We could do this all day long. It could be an 8-hour show for each of us throwing out ideas here for people, but we'll keep it short. Those are just a few that I like.
So just repeat them again, Sean. Review them again. Your actual picks.
Yes. Successful 2-point conversion is paying 3-1. Again, that was an offshore site. I had that. I think it was Bet Online. Both teams to convert 4th downs. It was minus 112 for San Fran, minus 102 KC. You put them together, it was a plus 310. The Watson receiving yards over 16.5, 17 yards, whatever it is. And also both teams to make a 33-yard field goal. Yes, that is minus 128.
33 yards or more.
33 yards or more, yes. 33 Correct. Or more.
I am.
I don't think they'll give up point. It's as much as they're going to go for it. First quarter, second quarter, there'll be a 39-yard field goal attempt. And that guy, Bucker's going to be automatic. I know the kid on the Niners is young, a little more erratic.
But
they're going to try to get him on the board, whether it's a short one to start, like within like 40 yards or something. They want to get his confidence up, so I see that cash in. I don't think they're going to give up points. This isn't the Lions where they're going to go for it on 4th and 1 from like
the game's also being played indoors, so there's no weather conditions they have to factor in. No wind conditions.
So there's that,
yeah. So I really like Jesse. I really like Sean's picks on the 4th down conversions. And I love at 3-1 a successful 2-point conversion to happen. I'm not sold on Watson, but it's not like you're asking him to do great things by going over 17.5 yards. And he is sort of a big play receiver when he is targeted. And also the last one, over 33 yards or more field goals for each field goal kicker. I love that one too. So I'm on board with Sean's for the most part, at least 3 to 4. And the other one I'm a little torn on, but I could see where he's going with it. Jesse, your take?
Yeah, similar to you, Ross. I'm not too thrilled about Watson or Scantling for that matter. But I see Sean's logic. I mean, they're going to have low numbers. They're not going to have to do a lot to go over their numbers. But the rest of them, I mean, I looked at the fourth down conversions. Really, the only reason that's not on one of my premium cards is because I couldn't find the line I wanted, the exact bet at the websites and I just couldn't get the correct number that I wanted. But I was looking at it, and I do think there's certainly going to be several 4th down attempts. Anyways, I think teams will go for it on 4th and short. So I like that. But yeah, it sounds like we're seeing similar things, certainly.
Yeah, and the 4th down conversion props for both teams, Look, 5 years ago, we wouldn't have been talking about both teams having a fourth down conversion. But in this day and age where analytics is come into play so much when it comes to coaches' decisions on fourth down, and now teams with an analytic division, an analytic department that, they pay a lot of money for that type of information for those people to do their work, which in turn means there's pressure on the coach to follow that to some degree. I really love those fourth down conversions calls by Sean. I think that's the best of the bunch. And at 3-1 odds, a successful 2-point conversion, I love it in terms of betting value. So, all right, Jesse, your turn. What do you got for us, my man?
All right. Before I get into the specific props, I want to tell you, Ross, how I envision this game going down and how both coaching staffs will approach it. We saw in the championship game, the Chiefs coaching staff really dominated that game, and the Ravens really made a terrible mistake. They wouldn't run the ball, and it cost them. And I expect both these teams, they're here for a reason. Both coaching staffs know what to do. And the way I look at it, you got two great defenses, but they're sort of opposite. Kansas City's defense, elite against the pass, sort of average against the run. I expect San Francisco to come in running the ball because of that. I mean, that looks like the advantage. And additionally, you got a young quarterback, first Super Bowl, Brock Purdy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's going up against Patrick Mahomes. I don't think it favors San Francisco to have Brock Purdy dueling with Patrick Mahomes in an air attack. I think it serves San Francisco to run the ball, play a possession type game, and lean on what they do best. Christian McCaffrey, that offensive line. That's the way I expect San Francisco to approach it. And when you're Kansas City, you got Andy Reid off a bye week, 31-7 in his career. The offense is humming right now. They struggled all year long, but the last 2 weeks of the regular season into the playoffs, Kelsey's looking great. Kelsey and Mahomes, the most dynamic duo in playoff history with 16 touchdowns. Why would you want the ball in anybody else's hands? I expect, first of all, San Francisco is the favorite. So if you think San Francisco is going to be leading in the second half, Kansas City will have to pass. I just don't think Kansas City can lean on their run, and that'll be enough to get them through this. I think they're at some point they have to lean on their best player, which is Patrick Mahomes. They've had success doing it. I think they'll be passing. So for that reason, what I'm looking at is Patrick Mahomes' most passing yards. I got it at a price of -155, but I think I got a good price for the reasons I alluded to. I think Kansas City wants to pass. San Francisco doesn't. Kelsey, most receiving yards at +280. Odd to see a tight end be the leading receiver in a Super Bowl, but Kansas City just doesn't have that many options. They've got two guys that get the majority of their catches, and Kelsey's one of the two, and he's probably the guy right now. And San Francisco's got to split the ball around a bunch of guys. So you're not expecting one guy on San Francisco to go off for 100 and something yards because, first of all, I don't think they're going to be doing a lot of passing. Second of all, they got a lot of mouths to feed in the receiving core. I like Christian McCaffrey over rushing yards. I got 87.5. I like Christian McCaffrey to win MVP as a long shot, +475. I like Christian McCaffrey 2+ touchdowns, +260. I like Patrick Mahomes rushing yards total over 25.5 yards, -125, because these rushing yards totals for quarterbacks in the postseason are based on their regular season average. It's not the regular season, it's the Super Bowl. You think the guy's going to hold back when he's got a chance to run for 15 yards? He's going to put his body on the line, something that he wouldn't do in the regular season, but in the Super Bowl. Last year with a high ankle sprain, Mahomes ran for 44 yards. Now his total, he's fully healthy, 25.5, taking that. San Francisco 49ers over 1.5 rushing touchdowns. Quarterback versus the field for the MVP. The field is +200, and I like the field because I think Kelsey and McCaffrey are both in play, and then you got the off chance of a defensive player. Mahomes has already won it a few times. If it's close between Mahomes and Kelsey with the conspiracy theories, maybe they give it to Kelsey. San Francisco wins, maybe they give it to CMC. Sorry for being long-winded, gentlemen, but I gave you an awful lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, and as you can see,
you want me to go over it one more time, Ross? Run it back one more time.
We ran it across the bottom of the screen, and we want to get to the viewers and their questions and comments, and I still have mine to do. I'll say this. I disagree with Kansas City being pass happy in this game or leaning more heavily on the pass. And I'll also say I'm not going to make the assumption that San Francisco will have the lead in the second half of this game. So for those reasons, I would disagree with a lot of your props, even though there's sound reasoning in terms of the MVP. Makes a lot of sense to me in terms of an MVP going with the field instead of the quarterbacks. Certainly I'm on board with that at 2-1. And also, the thing about Patrick Mahomes is, could you imagine, a lot of it's been made about Brock Purdy, Sean, being a top quarterback. And, look I'm not crucifying the kid. I just think he's a very smart quarterback that operates under an impeccable offensive system and with very good skilled players. And when you compare San Francisco's skilled offensive players compared to Kansas City, could you imagine Mahomes in the San Francisco offense with the tools he would have to work with? And George Kittle, by the way, I don't know if he's in the same league with Travis Kelce these days, but he's certainly a lot closer than 90% of the other tight ends in the NFL. So, Sean, your take on what Jesse had to say.
Well, what you just said there, I think we saw Mahomes in that kind of system when he had Tyreek Hill, and you saw how good he was. That being said, the field bet you got to like if you don't like the quarterbacks. You got everybody to come into play there, so I like that. I can't believe I missed the over 1.5 rushing yards for the Niners. Of course, CMC, you got to like those numbers because Shanahan's going to run the ball. That's what he does. I know it's like, well, he doesn't really get those kind of yards. He's going to hand this. He's going to eat all day. So you want to go over his rushing yards, TDs, MVPs. I like it. The rushing yards from Mahomes, absolutely agree. I saw one of the comments about Mahomes rushing props. I got that myself as well. Over 4.5 rushing. So just attempts for him. Sure, he'll hit this one. Receiving yards, who knows? Maybe if they're trailing, yeah. He'll probably outdo it because that's what's going to come down to. Again, that'll be Kelsey chewing up all the stats there. But my favorite there, obviously, is going to be the rushing TD prop there. I missed that one myself. I was so huge on that last year in the Philly one. How did I miss this with CMC? And even Samuel could run it in from the side or something. I mean,
yeah,
sweep.
Yeah, the only reason why I mentioned last week when they played Detroit that I didn't think he would be as run heavy as he was because of Detroit's inability to stop the pass virtually the whole second half of the season. McCaffrey did surpass his 84.5 yards rushing, and he did that in the last 2 minutes of the game on a 28-yard run. That's why I don't eliminate chunk runs. Okay. So when people say, yeah, but he had one run that was 28 yards. So what? It's all part of the process. If you took away all Gale Sayers runs of over 20 yards, what was his average per carry? He's a Hall of Fame. He wouldn't be in a Hall of Fame. I don't buy that whole thing. I don't buy that whole thing of, one of the runs went for 52 yards. Well, let me tell you this before I get into my prop. San Francisco in the last 2 games, they've were tremendous against the run all year. But in the last 2 games, they've allowed 4 runs of 15 yards or more. Okay. So how do you not account for that? How do you say, well, it was a fluke? They did it 4 times. Detroit did it 3 times in the same game. All right, let me get to mine. It's going to revolve around the first half points total for San Francisco. In the first quarter, the 49ers point total is over or under 3.5. I'm going under 3.5, folks, at odds of -110. I know a lot of you might frown about that. and might scoff at that, but the bottom line is this. In their first 2 playoff games at home against Green Bay and Detroit, who are not tremendous defensive teams by any stretch of the imagination. They're solid, but they're not above average defensive teams like Kansas City is. San Francisco was held scoreless in each of their first 2 playoff games at home in the first quarter. Also, I'm going to go with San Francisco under 11.5 points in the first half at odds of plus 100. The 49ers scored 7 points in each of their games in the first half. Okay, they scored 7 against Detroit. They scored 7 against Green Bay. They led Green Bay 7-6 after the first half. They trailed 24-7 at the half against Detroit. And again, I'm going to make the point here. You're seeing a tendency for the 49ers to come out slow. I'm not saying that they're not going to score a lot of points throughout the course of the game, even though I don't think that's going to happen. What I'm saying is this is a team that's shown in the postseason that they haven't started fast offensively for whatever reason. And this is also a Kansas City team that's allowed 7 points or fewer in the first half in 3 of their last 4. And they've allowed 10 points or less in the first half in 11 of 21 games this year. So I am going to go San Francisco under the point total 3.5 in the first quarter at moneyline odds of minus 110. San Francisco under 11.5 points in the first half at moneyline odds of plus 100. Now, if you're with me earlier this week, okay, I'll go run through because I'm on the channel a lot more than everybody else. So I gave out more, actually not as many as Jesse, but I gave out several prop picks through the course of the week. Let me review. I already gave out Isaiah Pacheco over 66.5 rushing yards. I already gave out Isaiah Pacheco's longest run to be over 15.5 yards. I also gave you San Francisco under the team total of 24.5 for a money line odds of minus 120. And I cited there that Kansas City has allowed 24 points or fewer in 19 of 20 games this year. And the only time anybody surpassed that number, they scored 27. That's it. So that was my reasoning there. Pacheco, I like him to go over 16.5 rush attempts. I'm going to add that to the mix at odds of minus 115. Why? Well, over the last 4 games, Kansas City, this is where I disagree with Jesse. I think that they're playing their best ball down the stretch. Over the last 4 games, including the playoff games, they've run the ball on 46% of their offensive plays. Prior to that, in their first 16 games of the season, Kansas City was running the ball less than 40% of the time. So I like Andy Reid's got a formula here that's working, and I think that's going to benefit Isaiah Pacheco in terms of his workload. As a matter of fact, over the last 4 games that I just mentioned, where Kansas City has upped the ante with the running game, Pacheco has run the ball 81 times. That's an average of 20.3 carries per game. So I like Isaiah Pacheco to go over 16.5 running yards. And again, folks, I'm with all I've given you in terms of rushing for Kansas City, I don't think that they're going to say, look, Patrick Mahomes is going to be part of the offense, and you're going to depend on him to win games week after week. You're not going to depend on your running. But in terms of opening up play action passing for a team that does not have the surplus of quality wide receivers that San Francisco has, and they don't have the quality of wide receivers they've had in years past, I believe they have to run the ball to open up play action passing. And I think that exactly what they're going to do, that's what they've been doing lately. And that all falls into place for my Pacheco props, and also in keeping the score down for San Francisco as well. So there you have it, folks. Jesse, any thoughts? I know that you disagree on several of those, so that's okay. But we just have different.
Disagree as much as you think I do. I mean, I think everything you said about Pacheco is fine. I just think at the end of the day is Pacheco might run for 100 yards. I still think if they want to win this game, and I hate to bring up the elephant in the room, Ross, but Kansas City's going to have to do pretty well for you to cash your props. So it gives me a inclination about which way you might be leaning in this game.
If he runs for 100 yards and they win the game, yeah. If he runs for 100 yards,
I think Mahomes has to throw for 250 as well.
Yeah, well, again, if he runs for 100 yards, I like Kansas City's chances a lot to run to win the game. Let's put it that way, because again, Jesse, you can't just look at they're going to be pass happy. No, it's going to open up the playbook in the passing. It's your play action pass is going to be a heck of a lot more effective. If you look at the Buffalo game, they ran the ball effectively. Their passing game didn't do a lot, but when they did pass, they had chunk plays in the passing game. You know what I'm saying? So it opens up a lot of things in the passing game, especially we've been talking about this all year, Sean. Kansas City's wide receivers aren't the caliber as a whole collectively as they've had in the past.
Yep. The Pacheco one,
I know you weren't on board with this earlier this week. I don't expect you to. I changed your mind, but that's okay.
I don't mind the Pacheco because if they're thinking we're gonna expose the Niner defense because you can't run they couldn't stop the run. Well, that works out perfectly. Like you said, he's going to get the ball 20 times, but I mean, he's only topped that. Looking at his carries, he's 14, 15, 16 carries. It's close.
All right, well, look at again, my point being is I get that, Sean, but you're also looking at his workload he's had over the last 4 weeks, and that correlates with Kansas City being more committed to the run over the last 4 weeks. I mean, again, the first 16 games of the year, you're running the ball less than 40% of your offensive plays. His workload and his carries aren't going to be up there. Now with the different philosophy, you know what I'm saying? That's my reasoning. I get it. If you look at the overall picture, like me and Jesse have said several times, sometimes you've got to look beyond the overall picture and what you're seeing as a recent trend that's going upward. And it's successful, and that's what I'm looking at with Kansas City's run game right now.
Well, that's what I mean. Listen, I don't hate it because he's got the 24 carries in 2 to 3 playoff games. So they're going to say keep the other team off the field, right? That's the key, right? Keep the other team offense off the field, and our defense is good enough to keep a rookie quarterback or second-year guy under wraps, and that's why we're staring at this line. And I don't hate that. I'm a Pacheco fan. Him 2 TDs for him plus 350. Why didn't I'm shocked you don't have that prop. If you think he's going to go for 115, he's going to be getting the ball down by the goal line.
I don't think he's going to look at again. If he gets 67 yards, I'm happy. That's a winner. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not. So again, it's enticing to go 2 touchdowns rushing for the odds that plus 350. But that's the reason why I'm not going away from that. I'm not looking for him to go. I just mentioned 100 yards rushing because Jesse had mentioned that he can go for 100 yards and they still might not win the game. If they go for 100 yards, if he rushes for over 100 yards.
I didn't say that. I said Pacheco can run for 100 yards. That doesn't mean Mahomes isn't going to get his. I think the more success Pacheco has, the more success Mahomes will have.
And it's not because they're going to be pass happy. It's going to be because there's going to be opportunities in the play action passing game that's been set up by the run, which is going to set up some big chunk plays in the passing game. So the thing that I probably should have looked at more with that philosophy is to find one Kansas City wide receiver that can go over the total. The problem is, Jesse, I don't have a lot of confidence in Kansas City's wide receivers. You may want to look at Kittle, or you may want to look, at Kels and his receiving yards, like you guys alluded to. So any other further comments we want to touch upon? But look, Jesse, I said I would mention this because you agreed with Paul on taking certain plays out when factoring things in. There's some truth to that, in my opinion. I don't totally disagree with it. But to say, well, Jamison Williams ran for 42 yards last week, you got to take that play away because it was an end around. It's still a running play. Okay, it's a running play. It's a running play that wasn't diagnosed by their linebackers specifically. It's a running play because they over pursued. They saw a trend in the defense that San Francisco, if you play fake to the left and run an end around to the right, they're going to over pursue, and it's got a possibility of a big play. So there's tendencies you see in the defense. And like I said, San Francisco gave up a 42-yard end around and did not allow the amount of yards they did rushing in the first two playoff games and weren't allowing 6.1 yards per rush. That's one thing. But they gave up 4 chunk plays in the running game, 3 against Detroit alone. And Kansas City has made a concerted effort to run the ball. So, yeah, I mean, look, you can't just cut plays out because it's convenient for you to think that way. Okay, I don't like that play because, you know what, we would have won the game if we didn't give up a 90-yard touchdown and only gave up 120 yards the rest of the game. Well, if you've given up touchdown plays of 50 yards or more in 6 consecutive games and your total defense is at 300, you're prone to give up a chunk play. That's the bottom line. I don't know how you can eliminate that. Anyway, you guys want to comment any further on that? That's fine.
Yeah, I'll tackle this one. I hear what you're saying, Ross, and I get your point of view, and I don't think you're wrong. The reason I complimented Paul is because I'm the kind of guy that I like to use stats, but I really appreciate when somebody takes the stats and goes deeper into them and then offers an explanation of how those stats came to be. And I think anytime you're doing that as a handicapper, if you're quoting a stat saying, well, this guy threw for this many yards and he threw for this many yards in the fourth quarter, and then you go deeper and say, this is how he got to that. And, you know, if, for example, Ayuk's touchdown bounced off somebody and landed in his hands, that's worth mentioning. That's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's worth mentioning.
What I'm saying is my pick in his retort to that had to do with the rushing game. Okay, had nothing to do with the passing game. So
his retort maybe sounded to you like he's making excuses for the Niners defense, right? Like he's making excuses for them, right?
Yeah, I get that too. Or he likes a prop going the opposite way. That's okay. But my point
I get that too.
You know, basically what you just said, Jesse, I agree with 100%. And it's the same reason that I use with Pacheco. Okay. Well, why do I think he's going to go over 66.5 yards? This is why. Why do I think he's going to go over 15.5 yards on his longest run? Well, because San Francisco's given up 4 runs of 15 yards or more in the first 2 playoff games and 6.1 yards per rush. Why do I think his workload? Sean mentioned it. Well, when I look at his carries, 12, 4, 8. Well, what's he done the last 4 games? Does that correlate to Andy Reid changing his philosophy and running the ball 46% of the time in the last 4 games with a lot of success and with successful results, as opposed to less than 40% in the other games? So, yeah, I think what I was saying with my picks is exactly what you're saying. But my point is if you're going to make a case of against what I'm saying, because solely for the fact that it's convenient to eliminate 2 or 3 plays, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Then it doesn't make sense. Now, your example of the guy making that catch, who was it that made that catch where it rebounded off of? Yeah, that I get. Okay, but I didn't make any cases for the passing game for either team. You know, so I
was just applauding Paul for going deeper than just reading off the stats, and his. You know, whether you agree with him or not, I think that type of methodology
I don't disagree with his picks. I disagree with his logic of a retort to what I gave and the reasons why. Okay. Now, I am not going to criticize 95% of the time. I don't criticize you guys for disagreeing with me. But if you're going to use the reasoning he did to disagree with me, I vehemently disagree. Can
I offer something that perhaps is more convincing?
If you gave him an applause for looking beyond the stats based on my reasoning for my props this week, and I'm not saying all of them are going to win, you should give me a freaking standing ovation, Jesse. because
I give you standing ovations all the time, Ross.
Right.
But okay, I want to float this with you.
Right.
If I was Paul, my retort to you would have been, yeah, the Niners couldn't stop the run the last 2 weeks. So you look at their overall body of work in the regular season. You couldn't run on them all year. They have 2 bad games in a row.
Right.
So which team shows up in the Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't think you know. I don't think Sean knows. I don't even think they know. You know what I mean? I don't even think they know.
Would you agree that there was a vulnerability that was exposed that hadn't been exposed all year long? If it was one play, if it was one game, it's one thing. But Detroit ran the ball at will against them. And yes, you could say Aaron Jones had 1 carry for 59 yards. So that, like Sean said, that put those stats askew. But again, they're shown a vulnerability to give up a chunk play in the running game in the last 2 games. So, I get what you're saying, Jesse, 100%. And listen,
what I'm saying is I don't know. I don't know if San Francisco is going to be able to stop the run here.
Yeah.
But I feel if I had to choose, like, can San Francisco stop the run or can they stop Patrick Mahomes? I'm pretty sure they can't stop Patrick Mahomes because I ain't ever seen anybody stop Patrick Mahomes, or not very often anyways.
He's if you want to consider him being stopped, you got to look beyond his passing yards. No, but what I'm saying is you got to look beyond his passing yards because their philosophy has changed down the stretch to be geared more toward the running game. So because he throws for 190 doesn't mean he's any less effective than he does when he throws for 300. You know what I mean?
Because I'm well aware that he threw for 190 at last year's Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right. So there you have it, right? And they had the lead and they won the game. And that's all that matters. So it's look, you could look at, there was a stat years ago that if a guy threw over 400 yards in a game, his teams only went like 500. It's because they were behind and the defense played soft. So there's a lot of things to account for. All right, let's get to our questions and comments, guys. Smash through. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. We appreciate you chiming in every week and supporting us. Pounded Sports. Sean found the best player prop in the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Mahomes over 4.5 rushing attempts. It's half of my top plays. I agree with that too. I think Sean's got some really solid, and nothing to say against me and Jesse. Sean came up with some really solid stuff, folks. So you should really take that seriously, and us too. But I mean, I really like I guess what I'm trying to say is out of the 3 other handicappers, Jesse, or 2, Doug and Sean, or Jesse, Doug, and Paul that have come on the show, I like Sean's the best of all 4. And that's, how much respect I have for the other guys. So
come on, you should be praising me, Ross. You should be praising me.
I praise you every show. I just called you guys one of the best handicappers in the world, and I sincerely mean that. And anybody who wants to contest me on that, I'll come up.
When you praise Sean like that, I get a little bit jealous. I feel like the middle child.
Well, I mean, if you had a solid case like he had, I would say the same thing. And
now I don't have a solid case.
You do have a solid case. You have a solid case. I just, myself personally, for things that I missed in the prop market, I like the stuff that he brought up that I missed. That I'm like, when I think somebody's got good props in that regard, it's like, wow, why didn't I think of that? Wow, how didn't I see that? That's the way I felt when I was listening to him. That's all I'm saying. Yours were good, but I just don't agree with the philosophy that Kansas City will be more pass happy. That's the only reason. It's just, I think your script in your mind, the way the game's going to go, is different than mine. And that's why it doesn't mean that you're wrong or what you gave out wasn't quality. It was the fact that it's not something that I'm regretful of, that I didn't say, geez, why didn't I think of what Jesse thought of? Because our mindsets in terms of how the game is going to go and be played out are differently. Does that make sense?
It does, but I'm really interested to hear who the biggest mush in sports betting history is.
Oh, you know who that is.
Is it, it's Drake? Drake is usually the biggest mush.
That guy,
Trent.
Trent.
Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
No,
Charles
this guy
Barkley.
Ross, this guy Trent did a live stream. He lost 25 straight picks or something. People were posting like 8-leg, 10-leg, 12-leg parlays against his picks and winning like $30,000 on like $100 bets.
And
Live.
sadly,
it was like a live vote. It's insane. He's horrendous. And he's got
but people love it. People love it. He's got like a boatload
My
of
kids are like,
followers.
oh, you should do it like he does. People like him. I'm like, he just brings down the entire industry. I said he's not a bet. He's a guy he's literally a content creator. Like, let me put on a lab coat with a stethoscope.
The other guy that was a joke in the industry, and that people would say they watched just to fade him, was the guy that was in the movie with the Stu Feiner movie there.
Brandon Lang.
Yeah.
Lang.
Yeah.
Brandon Lang.
Yeah. He's disappeared off the face of the map. I think he's.
No, I see him. He follows me on Twitter.
You guys are familiar with the Drake curse.
Follow you. He should follow you. From what I understand, his best prowess in the sports handicapping business is to work the phones and convince people to spend money with him. So maybe he's got to the point where he says, okay, I'm a good phone salesman, but I can make a hell of a lot more money if I follow a guy like Sean Higgs who wins.
He does videos with on like the little channel where I do my podcast.
I forgot to bet that. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
He's talking about the fourth down conversion props. The fourth down conversion props.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay. He said, I forgot to bet that. He thinks it's a good play, and it's something that got away from him.
Well, I agree with what you said about like finding something like you don't see something. Like the Jesse one, like the rushing TDs. Like, how the heck did I forget that one? Like, that's a good one to have. You think you're going to run a ball and you want to keep Mahomes off the field?
The only reason why, to make it clear, I have the ultimate respect for Jesse, and you people out there know that. He wouldn't be on the show if that wasn't the case. That goes for everybody on the show. I know I disagree with Paul Bovey, and I used him as an example, not to pick on him, but to defend my position and why you just can't eliminate certain plays in games because it's convenient because you don't like that play or you're making an excuse for your team. Okay. Other than that, all the guys on the show I agree with. The only difference between Sean and Jesse, from my standpoint, not to be redundant, is me and Jesse have a different outlook how the game will be scripted and played out. And I think that if you read between the lines, that probably goes hand in hand in who we like as a side in this game. Again, Elijah Mitchell over 4.5 rush yards. I like that. At some point, they're going to have to spell McCaffrey. He's your backup, and he's a very capable one, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that goes hand in hand with my game script.
Or that other, who's the fullback? Juicy butt. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, Doug brought up an interesting point with him. His over and under receiving yards is 4.5, and his over and under receptions is
a half.
0.5. Yeah. So I mean, he might be worth a shot. You know what I'm saying? But
it's I looked at that.
But he's got a lot of blanks in a lot of games this year.
This is my thing with that. And it's like everything else where I just try to outsmart and like I can't. It's minus 160. Like I just 160. I'm
when I saw that, I thought it was a sucker bet. That's exactly what I thought.
Like because he's why wouldn't he get a rushing attempt? Like I think his rushing attempts is a half as well too, or something like that. It's something.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's caught 4 balls in the first 2 playoff games, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me. I know he had 3 in one game. I think it was against Detroit 2 weeks ago.
That opened up, by the way, at minus 115 is over reception, so it got bet all the way up.
Yeah, so that's one of those very enticing ones, right? Especially guys. Look, the guy just made 4 catches in the first 2 playoff games, if I'm not mistaken. 3 against Detroit. They're offering him to you at 0.5. To me, they're begging you to take him to have a reception in the game.
Over half a rushing yard plus 270.
Yeah. So,
But I want to comment on the Rashi Rice thing because at the beginning of the year you had Kadarius Toney in the mix and Scantling, and a lot of these guys were expected to be wide receiver 2, wide receiver, in the mix, and they've all sort of dropped off. And Rice has separated himself as basically wide receiver 1, and that justifies to me the number there. If you, if you look at the passing yards total for Mahomes and everything else, there's really no reason to not think that Rice is going to be the top, getting if either first or second in targets in the game.
Yeah, and it's obvious at this point as the season has grown on that Mahomes has gained more and more trust on a weekly basis with Rashee Rice. Now, the reason why that may not have been the case early on is he's in his rookie year. You know what I mean? So these veteran quarterbacks, a lot of times it takes them a lot to trust the rookie. And I think that trust is grown, to Jesse's point. Pounded Sports, again, I found one player prop that has the number way off. Rashee Rice to start the season was around 35 yards, 50. Yeah, I think Jesse just covered that. So I believe. Yeah. So, I mean, Sean, if you want to elaborate on that.
I agree with what Jesse said with him. Yeah.
All right. MBS receiving prop is probably 80% cashing chance. He's caught 6 passes.
Sean, break out the pen.
The pen is out.
I've been
trying to write down some props as I go here. I like this. I mean, and I know Anthony here, so we've talked. I like why at that point just do a catch to him to catch a pass is 14.5 yards for his regular passing reception. Longest pass 14.5 yards or something. So,
all right, let's get to us. Yep. Thank you for chiming in again, sir. We appreciate it. Mandela effect aside, thank you guys for the great show. If this was daily, I'd be here every day. Good luck today, brothers. Well, it is daily. Okay.
He's talking about the live show.
The live show. Okay. I hear you, but you could still chime in on the comments on our archive shows Monday through Thursday, and we'll do our best to get back to you and answer you, especially as respectful of you as you've been with your comments.
This is the best commenter coming up right now.
Yeah. Ninja, there he is, my man. All right. My brother Ninja from Vietnam. Chiefs plus Taylor Swift equal NFL scripted.
And here's the thing, though. If you really think this, and I'm going to put this on my Sean Higgs YouTube channel.
Kelsey props.
Take all the Kelsey receiving props all the way up. Catches, yardage, ladder it up from 84 yards over to 115. Do 150 yards. I got 150 plus receiving yards.
How about 17-1 for the MVP?
Yeah. Mar.
Hey, guys, my prop picks. Over four 49ers to have a run attempt. Okay. I think Purdy could fit into that mix. 49ers over 2.5 field goal attempts. I could definitely see that. I like that, Mar. Kittle over 4 catches. Not sure on that one. I'd have to do further research. There's a reason why I probably didn't use that. And I have some friends in Vegas. It will be 80% Niners. I think this is our year.
I saw a lot of Niners fans. So no, in attendance, he's talking out there.
Oh, it will be in terms of attendance. Okay.
The rush attempt's not bad because you figure you got CMC. Debo's going to take a run. Purdy will have one, and you need one of the other guys, Mitchell or Juszczyk.
Yeah, I mean, again, ticket pricing in not above and beyond the suites has been ridiculous in Las Vegas. I just can't believe the NFL will be steadfast in keeping it there every 4 years or so. It's a great location. People love to go there. But when you get a Midwestern city like Kansas City, and there's a lot of wealth in the Bay Area of California for obvious reasons, it doesn't shock me that those numbers in terms of fan support at the game itself. I would say this. I don't think fan support is going to bother Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They're just, if it was a team there for the first time, it'd be one thing. If it was a team there that made a run hasn't been a regular in the playoffs. That's another thing, but I don't think that's the case, guys. I don't know how you feel about that. I just don't see that where it'll be effect on Mahomes or the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the fans myself.
I gotta say the cost of the tickets. NFL will come back here every other year. They don't give a crap about the fans. They're making money. They do not care.
True. That's
they
true.
don't care.
That is
because people find money to go.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because I think
until nobody shows up, it will not change.
Kansas City fans are not going to hesitate to travel for the Super Bowl, but at those, and I'm not saying that Kansas City's a poor town. It's a Midwestern city.
$8,000 is the average ticket. Like, I mean, even if it's $1,000 a ticket, which is kind of hard, because now you got to go out there and get a room that's costing you $1,000 a night.
Right.
Because they jack up the prices.
Right. And they're going to gouge you on that too.
Yes.
You know, and they're going to gouge you on everything that you spend money on over that.
I don't like buying flowers for my wife on Valentine's Day. I refuse to do it. Not doing it. Not paying $140 for a dozen roses. I'll go pick dandelions out of the
send her roses on the 3rd of January. You know what I mean? You love your wife just as much on that day as you do on Valentine's Day. That's the way I look at things too. That's the way my wife looks at things too. She would rather have me love her every day equally as much, if not more, on a daily basis, as opposed to just one day out of the year. 49ers have some injuries on D. Chiefs will run and milk the clock. I do agree with that script, and I don't think it has much to do with the injuries. I just think that's the way Kansas City has played. They're getting successful results in recent weeks and down the stretch. The truth, 49ers over 1.5 sacks, -160. It's a lot of juice to lay, and it's another one that I think that they're tempting you with the 49ers.
He hasn't been sacked at all.
Yeah, he's the toughest guy. This one of the toughest quarterbacks to sack in all of football, guys. And again, when they're giving you 1.5 sacks look, if it was 1.5 sacks at -130 or less, I would consider it. At 160, it looks like a sucker play to me. Now, it may win, but I'll be damned if I'm going to lay 160 at over 1.5 sacks. Guys, I mean, Sean, Jesse, you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, I agree. No interest in this at all.
That's it.
Okay. Total rushing yards between both teams is 257.5. I like under. I'm not, you know what? I would tend to go the other way. And based on where my props are going and how I think the game will pan out. And I think it's going to be a close game throughout. Okay. I just can't foresee one of these teams blowing the other out. And with that in mind, I would say that neither one of these teams, as Sean has alluded to, Shanahan's not going to get away from his identity running the ball. Kansas City has shown a concerted effort to run the ball more and have done so successfully. If the game stays close, neither one of these teams are going to be willing to abandon the run game. And I think the pass to rush ratio will be a lot closer than 50% than it is in majority of NFL games over the course of the year. Jesse, your take?
I mean, it is a big number, and I like the style. I like the thought behind it. But, yeah, I think San Francisco is going to really pound the rock. And I think that's the one thing about this, Ross, that maybe where you and I differ is I think San Francisco is going to have success running the ball. And I don't –
you know, I think I do too. I really do. I didn't say – in terms of – I think the script that I disagree with you on is you mentioning that you think that Mahomes is going to be more prevalent as it applies to pass run ratio. That's where I disagree. Now, I would
CMC rips off 100 yards in the first half, and San Francisco's up 17-7.
I don't see
you could
that
expect
happening.
a lot of passing from Patrick Mahomes in the second half.
Again,
that's the case.
And again, if you like San Francisco, that would be your mindset. I'm thinking this is going to be a close game throughout. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game as it applies to the total. So I'm really showing my hand now.
I'm going to expand on my game script, Ross. I'm going to call for that. I'm going to say CMC runs for 100 yards in the first half. Frisco's up 17-7 at halftime. And to me, The Chiefs got them right where they want them. I still remember the Super Bowl 3 years ago. They're up. San Francisco's up by 10 in the fourth quarter. Jimmy G.
It was 21. It was 20-10 with 6 minutes to go.
But, and I'm sitting there saying all they got to do is run the ball. That's all they got to do. And then Jimmy G drops back and throws a 20-yard pass for no reason. Picked off.
Yeah. My counter to that would be Kansas City had Tyreek Hill then. Kansas City's passing game was much more dynamic then. Kansas City can't get in a track meet with San Francisco in this game. If that happens, Jesse, you're 100% right. Okay. If they're down 17-7 at the half, I'm not expecting Kansas City. Look, if they get down by more than one score, would I count them out of it? If there was ample amount of time left, no. But if it gets late in the third quarter and they're down 10 or more points against this team, this San Francisco version of the team, as opposed to
Kyle Shanahan's team. Kyle Shanahan's team. Let's be real.
Okay. Bottom line is, if you like San Francisco's ability to run the ball like you do with success, and they get a 10-point lead in the second half, you're contradicting yourself.
I would like to call a friend. Can I call a friend? Sean, can you give me the history on Kyle Shanahan blowing leads in the playoffs, please?
Oh my goodness!
I don't care what his history is. Okay, you can't talk.
I want to hear it from Sean.
You can't have it both ways, Sean. You can't have it both ways. You can't tell me San Francisco's going to have a high degree of success running the ball, yet they're going to blow a 10 to 14-point lead in the second half.
But I mean, when they've done it over and over again, you can say history repeats itself, right?
You also don't have the passing game that Kansas City had 3 years ago. So look, I like it to stay close.
Listen, I agree with Jesse's point. I think is saying that if they do get a couple stops, say they run the ball and all of a sudden there's a couple stops and it's Kansas City has a shot, then you say, you know what? I'm going to go to Andy Reid just being cool, collective walrus that he is, and Mahomes will settle down and methodically get him into field goal range for a win. Where, Shanahan has blown things, and even he's got to win, he's like, oh my God, it's happening again. What is happening here? And then it'll just go off the rails. I can see that's his thought process on that, where
I was being
head coaches on the other side.
I don't really believe they're going to be down by 10. I'm just saying. The reason I said that is because it's happening.
You're stirring the pot, more or less.
I'm letting you guys know this is what's happened before.
If they're down, he's going to go in there and be like, "Hey guys, we were in this position with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter versus these guys."
What was the one of the key plays that you said when they were down, when they were up in that game?
Jimmy G throwing a 20-yard pass.
Yeah.
Okay. Brock Purdy, in my opinion, is a much smarter quarterback, less prone to making errors than Jimmy G ever was or is right now. That's my opinion.
Well, I don't think Jimmy G was the problem. I think Kyle Shanahan. I mean, if you're up by 10 with 6 minutes left against Kansas City,
do you know if
Garoppolo Jimmy G doing throwing the ball? What's Jimmy G doing throwing the ball? You don't throw the ball.
How do you know that Garoppolo didn't audible out of that call?
Because they would have threw him under the bus if he did.
Off a run, I mean, Sean's telling me that his identity is to run the ball. Well, if his identity is to run the ball and you're up 10 in the fourth quarter of a Super Bowl game, why are you attempting a pass like that? I would tend to believe that I don't know this for a fact, but I would think there's a 50-50 chance.
I mean, I guess maybe the same reason why Matt Ryan threw the ball.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different entity. Atlanta didn't have the running game San Francisco's had. Under Shanahan, it's not run heavy. They weren't run heavy the way San Francisco is right now. You're comparing apple. I don't want to say apples to oranges, but I'm
just saying that the decisions they made, the plays they called, those comebacks could only occur if you make those poor play calls. If you simply just run the ball straight up the middle, hand it to your fullback and let him trip over himself and burn 30 seconds, those comebacks can't happen.
Okay, Atlanta, I agree with. To blow that type of lead in the second half, 27-3, and to lose the game in overtime, it has to take. You have to have a lot of 3 and outs or 3 passing plays, or 2 or 3 plays or passes that were incomplete. I agree with you there.
Let's just wrap up.
I don't think that was a scenario when they blew that 10-point lead. I think one of them was a mistake by Garoppolo. Go ahead, Sean.
I'm saying this, and then we'll move on to the comments. If Michigan and Harbaugh can overcome their blunders,
say what you're saying. Go ahead.
If Michigan and Harbaugh can overcome their blunders and win, maybe Shanahan and the Niners can do theirs as well, and get this monkey off their back and get the championship also. So,
all right. Hey, Al, how you doing, man? We appreciate you, buddy. My concern with the 49ers is at the quarterback position. In big games, Purdy looks small. Passes get batted down, and Kansas City gets a decent lead. They play enough defense to control the 49ers. This is the best Kansas City defense that Andy Reid has had since he's been in Kansas City, hands down, in my opinion. And I can't disagree with what you're saying, Al. Although I don't know if I want to call Purdy small in big games. Yeah, if you look at the Baltimore game, you're probably right. Jesse, you want to comment on that?
I mean, we've just never seen Purdy in a Super Bowl. So I guess if I'm a 49ers fan, I don't really want this game to be about Purdy. I want it to be about the running game and the defense. And I want a workman's-like effort, for like a game manager style from Purdy. And if you need to ask him to do more than that, that's not a favorable situation for you to be in. So that's how I feel about Purdy in this game.
Sean?
Agree. For them to win, listen, if Purdy outplays Mahomes, wow, then stop calling him a game manager. But it's going to come down to CMC and Debo doing their thing.
Bill McDonald, I don't have any comment on this. Do any of you guys like it, Chris Jones or Joey Bosa sack?
Chris Jones for me.
Yeah, I take Jones over Bosa. I mean, Mahomes hasn't been sacked in the playoffs yet. I mean, and he's more agile. He gets out and he's smarter. He's got the experience. So Birdie will probably take a sack instead of throwing the ball away.
Especially since they've reduced their pass attempts by a ton, and they're running the ball so well. And like, again, you don't want to be making a habit of blitzing Patrick Mahomes, because he's got a habit of carving teams up to do that. And he gets rid of the ball quick, and he's mobile. Like he's underrated in terms of his mobility, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I like the Brock Purdy rushing prop. He's shown propensity to getting out of the pocket quickly. I would say this. If you play man-to-man against Brock Purdy, the way that Detroit did last week, specifically so in the second half, and you don't leave a spy in the middle of the field, he's too smart. He's gonna expose that. So again, I would think that if Kansas City watched that game on tape, okay, if we decide to go man-to-man, we have to respect this guy's ability to take off and get 8 or 10 yards. Sean?
No, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think he's going to be looking to take off, but this is where you got to grow as a player. Are you going to, instead of dancing and maybe throwing it away or getting sacked, take off, pull him Mahomes. Be like, you know what? Pull a Lamar and be like, nobody's on this side of the field. I'm going to run for 7 yards and whatever. I'll take a little bit. It's okay. It's second down now, or it's 3rd and 1 instead of whatever it is. I don't hate the props.
It's not a matter of wanting to take off or looking to take off. It's a matter of what the defense is giving you, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
When it comes to a guy like Purdy, yeah.
If the cornerbacks are doing the job and there's nobody open, and why not? Hey, wow, there's nobody. Plenty of times you see a quarterback take off in games and there's nobody on one side of the field for 15 yards. Like, run! Like, we're yelling at the TV and he's looking, and it's, I don't know. Big Drew.
Jess, you want to comment on the Brock Purdy rushing prop?
Yeah, follow up on what I said earlier. I think you'll find, if you look at those numbers for all quarterback rushing props in the postseason, you're going to find that the number they're offering is roughly around what they average throughout the season. And during the regular season, quarterbacks opt not to run as often because they don't want to put their body on the line and risk injury. In a Super Bowl where there's no tomorrow, that they're playing with a different a different philosophy as far as running the ball. They're more apt to take a risk and run the ball. And, if they can get a first down, make a big play, they're going to do it. And I think you see higher numbers for quarterback rushing in the postseason than you will in the regular season because of that.
Well, exactly for what you said. There's no tomorrow. You don't have to worry about, I need to stay healthy for the entire season. Not that you want to get hurt. Big Drew, KC first half, San Fran full game. I definitely like KC their first half, Big Drew. And I will also say this, that if you're looking for part-time work, I need a bodyguard. Holy cow, look at this guy. This guy looks like he could play for San Francisco or Kansas City. He's a big dude, man. No wonder they call you Big Drew. I call him Sean.
You think he can bench press more than George Kittle?
Man, oh man.
Big Drew, can you bench press more than George Kittle?
I don't know that. But you're in Thailand. He's probably in the States, so he's more readily available. Thanks for chiming in, Big Drew. Sean, any comments on Big Drew's projection?
Yeah, well, Casey's been here before. They know the routine. It's a little drawn out, introductions, all this nonsense. Maybe San Francisco, the pressure's on them. Maybe they start out slow and Casey jumps out to a little lead. And I don't hate it. San Fran comes back. I like it. Why not?
All right,
I think that pays pretty good too. He didn't post the odds, but I think that's a good payout.
All right, Jesse, did I give you an opportunity here on this?
I got it flipped around at 17-7. San Francisco at halftime. And they'll have them right where they want them.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite, Drew. So I don't agree with you on the full game. I could tell you that. Yeah, let me just tell you folks right out. If you're watching the show, here's my two picks in the game. I like the under as a top play, my strongest play, under 47.5. I like Kansas City +2. Okay, so there you have it. Mark, KC is weaker on both sides of the ball. You can make a case for that on paper, certainly. I can see 2 ways for the Chiefs to win, and I can see 20 ways for the Niners to win. They will be more dynamic. They will win more dynamic players on offense and defense. Purdy will get us there. Well, let me ask you a question, Mar. Why did they barely get by the Lions in the Packers then? Would you agree? Let me ask you another question, Mar. Is the Chiefs, do you consider the Chiefs a better team than the Packers or Lions? Just saying. What about you guys? What do you think about those two questions I just asked and what Mar had to say?
Spoken like a 49ers fan for sure. A little bit overly optimistic. I mean, better on both sides of the ball. Well, let me tell you, Andy Reid is a far superior coach to Kyle Shanahan. Spagnuolo as the coordinator, I think is certainly at the top of his game right now. Kansas City's coaching staff has been dominant this postseason. And San Francisco's has been, getting the job done maybe, but not to the same degree. So we got head coach and coaching staff, advantage Kansas City. Quarterback, I mean, is Purdy even in the Mahomes? No. I mean, as good as Purdy might be in the future, he's not in. So quarterback and coaching, those are two really important factors that Mar just sort of skated right past and forgot about. And then the rest of it is who's playing well at the time. Kansas City's defense is playing better than San Francisco's at this current time in this moment, as far as how they're coming into this game. And to Mar's point, San Francisco's lineup and their talent and their skill position players, maybe you could make a case that they're better on both sides of the ball, but it would be naive to truly believe that and lean heavily on that right now, I believe.
If it was that easy to say what team is more talented on both sides of the ball on paper, then
the Chargers would be in there.
If indeed you feel this way, Mar, why is San Francisco just a 2-point favorite? I mean, the way you're describing this, they should be a 7 to 10 point favorite in the game, and that's not the case. Sean, I know what Jesse's answer to this is, but I certainly have more faith in Andy Reid's ability to make the proper adjustments, and Steve Spagnuolo, which he showed against Buffalo in the second half, the defensive coordinator, to make the proper adjustments that are working against them at halftime or mid-game. as opposed to Kyle Shanahan. I know what Jesse's answer is going to be to this, and I agree with him. But what's your thought?
Yeah, well, Jesse just said that. He talked about Spags and Andy Reid, and I mean, come on, this is a no-brainer. These two guys, and also as good as the San Fran defense was for the first 3 quarters of the year as post-race play, their defense coordinator just took a rookie quarterback to the second round of the playoffs. So, maybe they're still good, but he's not playoff tested, even though he was an assistant or whatever he was on this team. So, yeah, hats off and clear edge to the KC side of the field. But, I would say they played a good Packer and Lion teams kind of hot coming in, but no one's playing better than the Ravens and the Bills at the time. And you go in and win those games on the road. I mean, yeah, Kansas City, I don't think it's such an easy thing to have, but here we go. Rookie quarter.
That's why, I mean, winning at Buffalo and winning at Baltimore, I can care less if there's 80% people.
And like he says, think like a bookmaker, right? Ross, this is
smartest thing he said all year, Jess. Right here, Ninja.
You have Mahomes as an underdog, 10-1 ATS or whatever the heck he is, and Andy Reid 31-7 on bye weeks. Super Bowl rings for him and Spags, and have been here before. And Shanahan's a choke artist, yet they're still favored. And then I got Billy Walters coming in saying that he has the Chiefs as a 4-point favorite in this game on a neutral field, and yet the line has not moved an inch.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a lot of where Billy Walters' success comes is that out of all guys, he's extremely sharp in terms of setting his own line and comparing that to the line he has to work with. So,
well, and isn't the Super Bowl the one game where you can't really read into the line because it's so heavily influenced by public money and it's been bets by so many people?
Yeah, it's a one-game situation. I agree, Jesse, because it's a one-game situation. So as opposed to a NFL card on a Sunday where you got 14 games and money spread across the board, maybe top heavy on a game or two, this is the only choice. That's why getting to the prop market is something you have to explore going forward, folks, when it comes to situations like this. Afternoon, fellas. I'm going Niners. Thank you for joining us again, Jesse. Appreciate you, man. I'm looking at CMC receiving yards as a best bet. Jesse, you got a thought. I think you addressed this, but if
I
you
like
haven't,
the rushing and receiving combined a little better. I like the rushing better, but I'm not opposed to the CMC receiving. I think that it's if Shanahan has the right outlook and game plan, he should be focusing on short passes to the running back, short passes to Deebo Samuel, rather than going with long passes. So yeah, and I just think it's going to be a CMC show all day, all night. And if San Francisco wins, it's going to be all CMC, and he's going to win the MVP.
Yeah, one thing about Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey is a short pass doesn't necessarily mean a short gain. These guys are great after the catch, but I agree with Jesse that I would be more inclined to lean toward the over the total on the rushing for CMC than I would be on the receiving yards. Sean, any take there?
Yeah, no, I'm more rushing than receiving for sure.
Okay. Mar, how are they going to stop McCaffrey? I mean, he takes 2 defenders to watch him all the time. Purdy is just like a young Drew Brees, super accurate on deep and short. I'm not willing to put him in a Drew Brees category just yet. He is a very smart quarterback. How are they going to stop McCaffrey? I don't know, because you know what? I think Baltimore let Kansas City off the hook by their game plan of using the running backs just on 6 carries last week. But guys, you want to have a response to Mar's comment here?
Sean?
I mean, they're gonna do what every team does. They're gonna try to stop him and see what happens. He's gonna get his 80, 90 yards. I don't think they stop him.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a game plan until they get punched in the mouth. Jesse?
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to address the Purdy as a Drew Brees. I'm vehemently against saying that a rookie or a second-year guy is like a Hall of Famer or a MVP, or you can't give somebody those accomplishments when they've only played a year or two in the league. And you can't assume that they're going to be at that level for another 10 years, because history tells you that a lot of guys that are in the position that Purdy's in now, which is a couple good years, and the potential to become a Drew Brees, for every guy that had the potential to be the next Drew Brees, 1 out of 6 maybe gets there.
The other thing too, Jess, if you recall, Drew Brees started with San Diego.
Yeah.
So in his first few years in the league, he did not have comparable skill position players that Brock Purdy has been afforded. Now, I'm not making light of Brock Purdy's accomplishments, Sean, but you have to account for that. I think let's put it this way. In Brock Purdy's defense, I think that's an unfair comparison at this stage. And certainly in Drew Brees' defense, too.
Well, I say this all the time with these young quarterbacks. Everybody's like, oh, look at, CJ Stroud, he's the next. Can you get more? Jalen Hurts can you get more than a season out of a guy?
Sample size. Yeah.
Can we get a little sample size?
Well, not only that, it's like, have you guys watched football for only the last year or two? Because if you've watched football for a decade, have you not been paying attention? Every year there's a new guy that's the new shiny new toy. Oh, he's the next this, he's the next that. No, not just football, every sport. And people just love to get
worse. Every quarterback comes out like, he's afraid. Look at him in the pocket. He's going to be here for the next 10 years. You know where that works out 100% of the time? When somebody takes a lineman in the top 5. You take a lineman in the top 8, he's going to be plug and play for 10 years because you're just a giant gorilla who's on the line blocking people.
Or you're going to be a monumental flop
at a quarterback. How many quarterbacks go down? Come on.
Yeah, well, Jesse, you said that how many times? You said it about college football quarterbacks, too, that step in as a backup, have a couple big games. It's always been, okay, now we got you on tape, and we're seeing tendencies, and we can game plan for you specifically. It's how you do over the long haul. And, again, there's a larger sample size with Purdy than comparing him to a backup in college football. Because he has been a starter over the last 2 years. But having said that, again, I go back to he's been blessed with great skill position players, Christian McCaffrey being one of them, and Deebo Samuel being another, Brandon Ayuk, the list goes on, Kittle at tight end. I mean, this guy's had spectacular talent around him at the skill, and not to mention their offensive line. So
I can remember, 3 years ago that Jimmy Garoppolo was considered to be Pro Bowl quarterback with this team. So
he was
that guy where he is win now. Games. They didn't even like him.
He was the best ordained backup quarterback that never played in New England, and everybody was chomping at the bit to give away a first round draft choice to get him. And what's he doing now?
Let's since we're talking about quarterbacks. They trade up against Trey Lance. People are like, Trey Lance is going to be MVP this year. Remember, Trey Lance was supposed to be the MVP 2 years ago. He can't even beat out Dak. Dak's terrible, right? He can't even beat that bum out.
Mar, he cannot run as good as Mahomes. He's not as slippery in the pocket as Mahomes. Okay,
so the homerisms here.
Yes, he's right. You're showing your homer colors there.
Oh my God,
Jeff, Travis Kelce, anytime TD -110. Based on everything we discussed, I think Jesse would say that that's a good play, and Sean would say, I don't know, I can't speak for them. It's not going to be one of my plays, but you look, in terms of receiving options for Kansas City, he falls under the category of a Mark Andrews in Baltimore, where you just don't have that dominant wide receiver for years.
In the perfect world, Jeff. And how you been, Jeff? I haven't seen Jeff post in a while. In a perfect world, he goes down with a knee injury, and then it's a wonderful game for the 49ers backers. And then you don't have to worry about Taylor Swift.
Yeah, but Jeff is talking about Travis Kelce anytime.
Exactly. He gets a knee injury, and then the whole world's safe. We don't have to deal with Taylor Swift for next year.
I think the price is a little off.
Seems low.
I think all these props, I'm confident that how it works is there's so many props available, and they come out with the sheet and the odds, and they're like, this is what these guys average throughout the season. We come up with the number. Here's the number. We set the number, and you can bet on it. And they fail to account for things like Travis Kelce is far more likely to get touchdowns in the playoffs than he is in the regular season. Like I said, Kelce and Mahomes, the most dynamic duo in NFL playoff history. So I think that price should probably be closer to 150 than minus 110. So right. I think it's a decent bet. Maybe it'll cash, maybe it won't, but at that price, it's a good bet.
At that, it's like an auto play. It's 110. I mean, the guy catches 10 passes a game in playoff games.
Yeah.
And they win. It's not like he's catching them.
And if you look at comparable players, right? If you look at previous Super Bowls, what the top leading wide receiver for a team that's, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, what are the prices on them to score touchdowns? It's usually higher than 110, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So I like the long shot play of Kansas City defensive touchdown at plus 700 against San Francisco at plus 160 or plus 650. I would think Kansas City D would be more likely. I tend to agree with you because of who the quarterbacks are on both sides and who I would say would be more prone to error, but you never know about a fumble for return for a touchdown. Guys, do you have any thoughts on this before we move on?
Take the KC defensive TD for sure.
I think
take neither, but go ahead, Sean.
I thought I had a bolt TD, a defensive TD for somebody is a defense or special teams. Both teams was plus 205. So I got that one myself. So I don't hate just one team, KC plus 700. Why not?
Moneyline Mills says hello. Thank you for joining us, Moneyline Mills.
He's a Titans guy.
Mills says Kansas City all day. I agree with you. I don't know if the other two guys do, and I'm not going to pressure them for an answer to that. Packers and Lions beat these big, unbeatable Chiefs. I don't know. Again, Jesse.
I don't even know what that is.
He says the Packers and Lions beat these Chiefs. He's trying to say the Chiefs aren't that good.
Yeah, what he's saying
and
is
also, how about the Raiders?
The Lions or the Packers got there, they'd beat the Chiefs. So
I still don't see how that makes any sense.
No, but the Lions beat them opening day, and the Packers beat them on Sunday Night Football. Is what he's saying.
Yeah.
And you're saying that people are saying the Chiefs are unbeatable. Oh, it's Mahomes that they're unbeatable, beatable. They lost.
I'm not saying the Chiefs are unbeatable. I'm just saying they got the better coaching staff and the better quarterback. So you can't write them off. You can't just write them off and say San Francisco is just better, even though they're the defending champs and they got the better coach and the better quarterback. Where I come from, the better coach and the better quarterback are two really important things, and it's hard to overcome that no matter how much talent you have, especially with a young guy, a rookie at quarterback, basically.
Yeah, and again, you're putting stock in results that happened mid-season, if that. Okay, they played Detroit in the first week of the year, like Sean just said. The Packers were near the end of the year, but that was before Kansas City really started playing their best football. And that was on the road at Green Bay.
I mean, we could say that Kansas City nearly lost to the Jets.
Yeah,
they're terrible. Yeah. I mean, like, is that the argument we're using here? The Jets could possibly be a Super Bowl team because they almost beat the.
Didn't Crystal lose to Cleveland's fourth-string quarterback?
Yeah. Buffalo lost to Denver. Buffalo lost to the Jets. Are Denver and the Jets a better team than them?
Again, the Niners lost to P.J. Tucker, didn't they? Who did the Niners lose to in Cleveland in the rain?
Yeah, their fourth-string quarterback.
P.J. Walker.
Yeah. All right. Another one here. You're right, Ross. We were down, and we shouldn't have been down both games. But the ability for us to come back and win those games when we could have just tapped out. Again, you're facing Kansas City's defense, Mar. That's the only thing that I would. And again, I know you're a San Fran fan, and I'm not trying to cut you down whatsoever, but you have to keep reality in check here. You're coming back against Green Bay and Detroit is going to be much different than coming back against Kansas City's defense. I'm not saying they can't do it, but I just don't think that if that's the reasoning you want to use, it sounds more excuse-based than it is in touch with reality. Guys, your comments.
And you can't count on Ayuk having a ball bounce off of somebody's noggin and landed in his hands for a touchdown as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the positive side to this is that the way Shanahan had choked before, they didn't fold up like a tent and pack their ball and go home. They actually came back, and give them credit for that. I know.
Yeah. And again, Mar, you're making a case for the 49ers, and you're looking for every reason to make a case. Some of them, in my opinion, and I can't speak for these gentlemen, some of them, in my opinion, are more impertinent than others. Most of them, I would say. So, and again, we encourage you to chime in all you want. Obviously, you're a 49ers fan. I wish you good luck with your team, but you're making a case. You're a defense lawyer making for a case for a murder defendant it's got DNA at every site he's murdered somebody. So, in any event, my favorite Super Bowl prop is also getting the most boring prop. Harrison Butker over 1.5 field goals. Boring is good, boring. That boring the prop. I like that prop. I like it a lot. Stop Gio. So, guys, I think that we touched upon this already. I can't see either one of you disagreeing with that prop, especially Sean, who has both guys kicking over 33-yard field goals. So, Jesse, I mean, is there anything you disagree with that in terms of?
No, I mean, it's indoor stadium. Butker's one of the better kickers. You're going against a good defense. So, yeah, you'd think he's going to be kicking a few field goals for sure.
Yeah, Mark, thank you for making us aware of that. Now we understand.
We weren't sure. Now we're officially sure.
Yeah. Just getting in the door. Thanks for being on, gents. You're welcome, Scott. Appreciate you chiming in, my man. Tooch, good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon, Tooch. Thank you from all three of us. Marowitz smiles, laughing. Brock Purdy to rush for 13+ yards at odds of -120. Jeff, if Kansas City plays man-to-man defense predominantly, I really like that. Obviously, we don't know that. And I don't know. Spagnuolo is a hard guy to predict because he's not vanilla whatsoever. But, Jesse, start with you. Do you have any thought on this one?
Back to what I've said a few times already, just in a Super Bowl, I think quarterbacks more willing to run the ball. I mean, in my opinion, a lot of these athletic guys that are capable of running the ball, if they really wanted to, they could run for 50 yards a game. If they were willing to, if they weren't concerned about getting injured, if they knew they weren't going to get hurt, they could pick the ball up and they know they can gain it 4 or 5 yards every time. The reason they don't is because if they keep on doing it, they're going to blow out a knee or get hurt and cost their team. That's what. So in a game like this, I think both quarterbacks are going to not hesitate every chance they get.
Yep.
Yeah, and I like Mahomes' mobility more. I like his ability to move the sticks on third down when nobody's open with his legs a lot more. But Purdy's capable, okay? And like I said, when Sean made the comment, and I said, well, Sean, it's really not about his willingness to run, but what the defense is giving him. And especially so, right, Sean, in a Super Bowl situation where there's no tomorrow. So, all right, we appreciate each and every one of you. We got to close up shop here because we're going on an hour and a half. And my producer, Mr. Seth, and our owner, Jim Quinn, have been very patient in the background, although it's been a great show. We really appreciate all your comments and questions, and we hope you gathered a lot from the show and our discussion. And like I always said, from the start of when we started doing this 3 years ago to where we are now and what happens in the future, is we always want to try to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, folks, now's a good time to do so. You've watched the show, you like sports betting, and we bring on some of the best guests in the country. These two guys here, Doug Upstone from Doc Sports, Chip Chirimbus, who's been around forever and a day and has a great reputation, Paul Bovey, who's a professional sports bettor, and whoever I'm missing, Matt Fargo will be with us soon, Kyle Hunter, was with us earlier this season, and he'll be making periodic appearances throughout the course of the year. So just hit that subscribe button underneath. And if you're on your PC, there's a WC logo that serves the same purpose. Click on that. Costs you absolutely nothing. There's no strings attached. And there's no hidden agenda. And take one step further, too. And even if you have subscribed, which we appreciate each and every one of you, and you haven't done this, go into your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our 6 podcasts going up on our channel throughout the course of the week. So there you have it. And again, folks, don't forget Super Bowl squares available right now, $10 for a Super Bowl square, limited to 1 per person. And we're paying out $500 at the half and $500 on the final score. So take advantage of that offer. Also, not only us 3, but 7 other great handicappers over at gamblersworld.net, where we guarantee all our picks. If you don't win, you don't make a profit on any single game or multi-game daily package or any subscription plan of 30 days or fewer, we will credit back your account. Now, keep in mind, folks, because we have this situation come up a couple times, and it's worth mentioning on the show. If you buy a pick totally with credit and that pick loses, you didn't spend anything. So you're not going to get the credit for whatever that handicapper was charging for that specific package. So we're giving you credit on money spent when you don't win or you don't make a profit. So if you have a problem with that, I would say, why not do a 3-day, 7-day, or 30-day package? Because if you don't win or don't make a profit, you're getting a lot of credit, and you can use that toward another handicapper. Again, we hope that the majority of times this situation comes up, it's a moot point because we win. All right, we have the good enough cast aboard, but we all of us don't win every day. Nobody does. Anyway, Jesse, tell the folks a little bit about what they could expect this coming weekend and anything else you'd like to share with the audience.
Yeah, I'm having a nice little run here in 2024. Still all over the leaderboards at gamblersworld.net. Looking forward to the Super Bowl. We did quite well last year. I was 7-1 with my Super Bowl picks, including props, and I did hit an 8-1 underdog bet in last year's Super Bowl. And I've got a bunch of plus money props available below the analysis of my premium picks at gamblersworld.net. So if you buy either the side or a total, you get all the props below the picks. So you get that at gamblersworld.net.
There you go. Jesse's he had a losing day yesterday, but he's been on a roll. So if you look at the last 30 days, the top 2 guys on the leaderboard over at gamblersworld.net are Jesse and Sean. And Sean's having a fine college basketball season. He's had great football seasons the last 2 years. Sean, tell him what you might have coming up on Super Bowl weekend and what the viewers out there could look forward to.
Yeah, college basketball, it was a slow beginning, but since the turn in the calendar, we're a nice 55% clip, I believe. So rolling along the last 40-something days. So I have college basketball. None tonight, though. I don't really love the 3 games tonight. I'm not going to just run out and take games today. But NFL, Super Bowl has been posted for well over a week. I've had it up on the site there. And NBA, hockey, I dabble in a little bit. I try to find some winners. Not as much volume as college basketball, but there will be plays. So I don't know. And prop-wise, I give them out all the time for free. So I can add them in the thing, but people, if you want to buy props, I don't know what to tell you. I think they're kind of tricky because I think people in prop, Mar loves San Fran, he's going to look for all kind of Niner props. Somebody likes Kansas City, they'll be all over Kansas City props. So I try to give out all types of props on both sides to please whatever person wants to bet on their gut instinct there. So
there you go. Sean Higgs, Jesse Schule over at gamblersworld.net. Picks are guaranteed. I would encourage you folks, these guys win over the long haul. I would encourage you to participate in the 3-day, 7-day, or 30-day packages, not only for those 2, but myself as well. Well documented. I went on a streak through August through the beginning of January where I had 5 winning months in a row. I've tailed off in January quite considerably, but that's going to happen on occasion. And I could tell you that I'm going to bounce back in a big way in the coming months. And you have my Super Bowl side in total. If you watch today's show, no need for you to buy it from me. Okay. I mean, you're privy to my picks. And I'm going to go with the under in the Kansas City game. In the Kansas City Chiefs too, +2 in that game. So under 47.5 is a 10-star top play. In Kansas City, +2 is a 5-star top play. I also have a first half bet on the game as well. So there you have it, folks. And my college basketball totals continue to roll. I won again last night with a college basketball total. Now 65-33 with my last 98 college basketball totals. That's good for 65%. My basketball totals overall, NBA college basketball combined 6-0 over the last week. So those are cashing well. Also, my college basketball top plays, 57% since 2022. That's all documented over at sportscapping.com. My NBA top plays, 4 units and above, 39-21 run with those plays as well, dating back to last year. So there you have it. For Jesse Schule, Sean Higgs, and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Be smart and use your head and be disciplined. Take care and God bless, folks.